Crash issue 24 was the second Christmas special, another iconic cover with Santa, an alien and a ZX Spectrum. As the Christmas issue, this was slightly larger in page count, with a price tag of £1.95 to match. This is a very special issue for me, as it marks the start of regularly buying Crash every month for at least the next 2 years. Let's see what the Christmas smashes were. There are 3 games in 10th place this issue. The first is a strategy game, The Evil Crown, from Mind Games, with a score of 77%. This is an icon-driven game in which you run a barony in feudal medieval England. You first choose how to allocate your money and resources, and then take part in an arcade-style jousting sequence. Crash found the game instructions to be somewhat misleading, but the enjoyment would be got from the variety of game types employed throughout your turn. I felt that it would have been better if it explained the consequences of your actions, but nevertheless was an entertaining change from the conventional war game. This is an original theme for a strategy game and is presented very well. The character set and graphics do well to set the tone for the medieval theme, it's just a shame the game doesn't quite live up to that good start. The combination of mostly strategy with some arcade action on the jousting doesn't really gel, and then you just need to be choosing numbers and hoping for the best. The potential of the idea was good, but it's not a game I'll be returning to. Also in 10th place, again with 77%, is Panzer Drrome from Oelitz. This is a top-down 2D arcade action game in which you take control of a tank. Your mission is to upgrade your tank and ultimately destroy an island inhabited by robot tanks. Crash found this game pleasantly surprising, fun as a hack run and blast the baddies game, but also with a strategic depth. Their main criticism is the way in which the game slows down when there are many tanks on screen. They describe the graphics as superlative, although are disappointed with the small size of the tanks. Not a classic game, but very good. I don't find this a satisfying game to play at all. The in-game graphics are either too small for the tanks, or garish for the environment in which you're moving around in. The sense of being in an open space is lost due to the enemy tank's resetting position when you move back into a screen. The poor keyboard layout is a key part of what makes this game challenging. To top it all off, the main tune is not great either. It's not a game that I want to come back to. Another in 10th place with 77% is Gladiator from Domark. This is a beat-em-up set in the time of Roman gladiators, with you fighting to earn enough coins to gain your freedom. Crash were initially impressed by the graphics when they started playing, but found there were niggly glitches, such as the men climbing up the walls. The sheer number of controls and the hard manner in which they were accessed made the game unplayable. They thought this game had more depth than many other titles, but lacked the arcade appeal. The game is graphically very well presented, and the ability to choose your weapons is a nice touch. However, it's a real handful, with the manual listing 27 combinations of key presses that you have to master in order to execute the full range of moves at your disposal. Given this the benefit of the doubt, it seems like it would be a lot easier to manage as a joystick game. The game seems slightly sluggish at times, and although the title screen music is Entry of the Gladiators, that has more of an association with clowns these days. Definitely not the best beat 'em up around at the time, although Crash rated it higher than System 3's International Karate, also reviewed in this issue. In 9th place with a score of 78% is Jeff Cape's Strongman from Martech. This is a sports simulation based around the British sportsman and TV personality Jeff Capes, known for his strength. The game consists of 6 events including the lorry pull, barrel lifting and car rolling. Crash felt that this was a game worth taking a look at, not relying solely on joystick waggling. They liked the scope and variety of the 6 events, although found it could get boring once you completed them all. They found it to be a nice competitive game, in a different mould to the Daley Thompson games, and worth getting if you like this type of sports simulation. My biggest criticism of this game was the keyboard layout, which was a bit unconventional and not user-definable. However, once used to this, the game is actually quite good fun. Although starting with a joystick waggling or button mashing training round, the main game offers events with a variety of techniques needed, mainly around good reaction times. The music on the game is fantastic for the Spectrum's beeper, and the graphics work well. I agree with Crash that this wasn't quite worthy of a smash, but would have scored this game slightly higher myself. There were 8 Crash smashes this month. The first is Swords and Sorcery from PSS. This was given a score of 9 out of 10 in the Adventure Trial column and an average score of 86%. This is a fancy-themed role-playing game in which you explore a dungeon, encountering creatures and finding treasure. Crash felt that this was a super attempt to bring the real depth of Dungeons & Dragons to the computer screen. They felt that the impressive graphics and brilliant animation were rare for this type of game, and it was one in which, although hard to begin with, would be worth investing time to master. This game is certainly a step up from some of the earlier fantasy RPGs for the Spectrum, such as the Oracle's Cave, reviewed in issue 1 but not in the top 10, and takes a different approach to Out of the Shadows from issue 11. Perhaps also somewhat inspired by the classic 3D Monster Maze, although this time you encounter a greater variety of foes. This game had an excellent manual with backstory and details on the many creatures that you encounter. Movement in the game is smooth and fast-paced, although the predominantly white maze doesn't really create the atmosphere of dank catacombs. But there's such a depth to this game in terms of spells, interactions, and the ability to create characters that I haven't even scratched the surface yet. Definitely recommended for RPG fans. In 7th place, another Crash smash with 92%. This is Vectron from Insight. This is a first-person perspective maze game somewhat inspired by the film Tron. There are 4 phases to fight your way through before escaping. Crash described the game as one of the best they'd seen for the Spectrum in eons, rating it as a classic. They found the graphics exceptional with amazing speed. One reviewer felt that it might not appeal to a gamer who likes to use brains as well as quick reactions, but described it as a first-rate shoot-'em-up. I thought the presentation of the main menu was excellent and was ready to be impressed, but the game slightly disappointed me. Although fast-paced, the graphics are a little flickery, and the game is not as smooth as Gyron from issue 14. Controls don't quite feel responsive enough for the pace of the game, with your craft speeding down corridors before you get a chance to turn and enemies suddenly appearing. There have certainly been worse games for the Spectrum, and this may be worth a look, but it didn't really grab me. There are 2 games in 5th place this issue, both Crash smashes with a score of 93%. The first is another strategy game, Oelitz from Lothlorien. This game is a follow-up to Waterloo, which received a smash in the previous issue, although set in an earlier Napoleonic battle, that of the 1805 Battle of Austerlitz. Crash described this as looking almost identical to its predecessor, but that the subtleties of the game were vastly different. They found the instructions clear and concise, and felt that a player would be ready to play the game within minutes of reading them. If you'd played Waterloo from issue 23, then this game on first glance does not seem too dissimilar. The icons are of the same shape and size, and the control mechanism is identical. However, the simulation of fog resulting in you not knowing where the other forces are gives this game a different feel and makes it distinct from its predecessor. Like Waterloo, this is not a game for the casual gamer, but one that will be enjoyed by strategy fans. Also in 5th place with 93% is a game that I know many people regard very highly. This is Sabotur from Drrome. In this game you play a mercenary, hired to liberate a computer disk from a high-security fortress, cunningly disguised as a warehouse. It's a race against the clock as you move through the various rooms of the fortress, encountering guards and watchdogs who are determined to stop you. Crash found this game to look somewhat similar to Impossible Mission from issue 22, but hold a lot more than that game. They described it like playing a part in a Bond movie, and rated it as one of the most original games of 1985. They praised its playability and great use of colour, and found that the variety of routes available helped make this game addictive. The sound in this game is minimal, which may be appropriate for a Saboteur, but the title screen music's not great. Where this game excels is in the atmosphere and detailed touches. On some screens you can see antagonists that you haven't quite reached yet, and that gives the feeling of a well laid out environment. The number of skill levels available provide a variety of challenge for all levels of gameplay. This feels better than Impossible Mission and is rightly regarded as a classic. There are 3 smashes in 2nd place this month with a score of 94%. The first is Roller Coaster from Elite. This is a multi-screen platform game set in the fun fair. As well as exploring the fair and collecting the money left behind, your character can ride on the attractions by jumping on. Crash liked the original setting of this game. They found that although it may not look that impressive initially, the game takes on a whole new dimension when you see the different objects move. They praised the wonderful graphics, terrific use of colour, and amazing addictive qualities. They felt it owed a little to Manic Miner, but was unpretentious and fun to play. This game puts me somewhat in mind of Chucky Egg. Partly this is the main character, but also just the general feel of the game movement. Timing is of the essence for a lot of the obstacles, and the game is tricky, but not frustratingly so. The way in which you have to collect coins put me somewhat in mind of Sonic the Hedgehog, although this game was a few years prior. I was not overly impressed by the graphics, but the fairground rides make this an original take on the platform game, and one that is worth playing. The second of this month's 2nd place games is another smash from Elite. This is Commando, again with 94%. This was the officially licensed version of the Capcom arcade machine. You take the role of a super crack commando with a mission to penetrate deep behind enemy lines and destroy their 2 main fortresses. Crash felt this was about the best arcade conversion your Spectrum was likely to see. Although the graphics were not the photographic quality of the arcade machine, the rest of the game had been copied with meticulous attention to detail. They described the action as fast and furious, and found the game very easy to get into and not so easy to leave alone. Although I wasn't familiar with the arcade machine and had not played this before, I was very impressed by this. It's pure arcade action, so easy to pick up and understand what you need to do, but challenging enough to make you want to come back until you beat it. One of the co-developers of this was Nigel Alderton, best known for Chucky Egg. Although this is a very different game in style, it has similar smoothness and addictive qualities. Graphics and sound are all brilliant. It's just a cracking game, one that I missed out on its original run, and one that I highly recommend taking a look at if you haven't played it. The final 2nd place game of this month is another smash with 94%. This is Robin of the Wood from Odeon Computer Graphics. This is a 2D maze game based on the legends of Robin Hood, set in a forest, the castle, and the castle dungeons. You take the role of Robin and have to collect gold, get 3 magic arrows, and win an archery competition. Crash found this game graphically excellent, with attention to detail evident throughout. They compared it to Sabrewulf, but found it more involved with better character interaction. One reviewer described it as one of the most addictive games they'd played. Overall, they found it a step up from Odeon's already excellent Nodes of Yesod. I'd only played 2 games from this issue before, and this was the first. It was a fantastic game and still is. Maybe not the most original in terms of gameplay. It's got a slight Sabotur vibe to it, although not as unforgiving. The title screen music is superlative, 3-channel sound out of the Spectrum's beeper. This game is a genuine classic. This month's first placed game with a score of 95% is Spellbound from Mastertronic, written by David Jones. This was a follow-up to Finders Keepers, also written by David Jones, reviewed in issue 13. You again take the role of Magic Knight, but unlike the last game, you can interact with characters and objects through picking actions from a menu. Your quest is to release the Wizard Gimbal and to return yourself and 7 other characters home. Crash felt that this game lived up to the claim of being a true graphical adventure, blowing away both Frankie from issue 19 and Shadowfire from issue 17. They thought a price of £10 would be a bargain for this game, so were amazed it was only £2.99 and gave it a value for money rating of 98%. They found it an easy game to pick up even without reading the instructions, and a game that wouldn't take long before you're addicted. This is another game I'd played before, perhaps one of the first examples of a point-and-click game. This is an ideal approach to an adventure for those people that dislike text adventures. David Jones had expanded on Finders Keepers, which was good, and made a true classic. I loved playing this game and its successors, and the fact this was released on a budget label was even more impressive. If you have enjoyed this, please like and subscribe to see more videos about retro games from Norlogic Retro.